that's important that you get to know, you get some kind of an overview about each of the papers. Um, so I'm just again waiting for 5 more minutes and we get started. Anjani, please note the participants. If you think everybody is in, then I'll start. Give me a signal when, please check out whether everybody is there and give me a signal
Okay,
and
ma'am.
I'll start. Yes.
Okay, ma'am.
Anjani, how many are left to come among the participants? Who's not
Only
coming?
Anushka Simalote, ma'am. Only one.
Only one. So Anushika is not
Yes, ma'am.
in. Pragya,
So we may start.
Akriti, Yashkriti, everybody is there?
Yes,
Nilofer,
ma'am. We may
Nikhil?
start.
Okay, okay. And course instructors, I was waiting for Dr. Moitri to come in because she was the one who is yet to be introduced. Has Dr. Moitri they come in? She's actually traveling. She's not in Delhi, so she has network issues. That's the problem. She couldn't join in yesterday, and today she's very keen to join in. And I'm equally keen to introduce her right in the beginning because she was the only one who had not been introduced. And she did say she'll join in right in the beginning. So I'm just waiting for Dr. Moitri Day to come in. I introduce her and yes, she's coming. Moitri has come in. Right, I can see that. Good morning, Moitri. Are you there?
Good morning, ma'am. Sorry,
yes,
I was not able to connect.
I hope there will be no network issues while you are speaking. We were just keen to, we were waiting for you. So you'll be the first one to be introduced, and we'll talk a little about your paper first because you might have network problems again. So,
yeah, that's why I'm not switching on my camera because I'm on mobile data, and if I switch on my camera, I'm not able to connect only.
Oh, I see. Okay, but we can hear you. That's important.
Okay,
we
ma'am.
can hear you.
I'm really sorry. I mean, like, I was not expecting this kind of a network here.
Right. Oh, no, that happens. That's fine. Thankfully, the participants are all here except, I think, Anushika, right? Anjani? Who's the one who's not here?
I think Anushka, ma'am.
Okay. There's only one participant who's not here. The others are there. So I think officially, let's start today's session. Welcome you all. I welcome everyone today to the second day of our orientation program. We started yesterday with a 2-hour program and we follow up today by again a 2-hour session. We will end this session at 11. So I expect all of you to be there till 11. Hear me through because I will be introducing all the 4 papers in the course, irrespective of the fact whether individually you have taken any of them or not. You know, everybody has taken one paper. Some of you have taken 2 papers. And I've already announced that, we keep admissions open till 18th. 19th will be your formal opening of the courses as per the syllabus. So all our four instructors have been introduced except one who's here, Dr. Moitri De. She will be teaching the second paper on public policy analysis. So let me introduce Dr. Moitri De. She's not on camera, she's traveling, but we can hear her, and I would like her to introduce her course. So Dr. Moitri, all the participants are here. Let me name them one by one. Nikhil, Madhusudanan, Nilofar Yasmin, Divyangsh, Yash Kirti, Ambika, Anushika, Pragya, Akriti, they are all here except one. So I would now request Dr. Moitre De, who would be teaching you course number 2, which is the course on public policy analysis. Let her speak first. Let her introduce her paper first. Of course, I will be giving an overview of all the papers one by one in the time that follows. In between, any of you, if you have any queries, please go ahead, talk, speak, ask. But I have already introduced you to all the teachers, and I've already told you that Anjani Kumar is there, who's handling our office in the Institute of Social Sciences, where the Center for Public Policy and Governance is housed, to handle any kind of query that you may have regarding timings, classes, or any other issue regarding attendance. And of course, all the web resources will be posted to you from time to time. If there are extempo changes in your classes, it will be known to you beforehand. And if you want any other kind of adjustment to be made, please, the request should come at least a day before. So, we take care of the attendance. We also note your absence. And of course, I've already announced that a valid reason has to be given to all of us if you do not attend. I think, I'm not being strict about attendance, but you will be the loser if you miss out on a class, because every class will be one self-contained lecture on one topic, which will not be repeated. So, you lose the link if you keep missing classes. So give us valid reasons for your absence. And then, of course, we do understand any particular Saturday or Sunday you may have other obligations or engagements and you couldn't attend. And any kind of other problem or query you can sort out with your teacher in that 2-hour lecture itself, because we don't really give you time at the end. You please sort out your issues. If you have a problem with the earlier lecture, sort it out in the next lecture itself, because the lecture schedule is very tight. There will be just 30 classes and you will have to catch up with the syllabus, with the course, and later we will have our tests and presentations or whatever within the 30 classes. So I expect you to always be on the alert. Now, Dr. Moitri De, will you please introduce yourself and give us a little idea, a short overview about the course you are teaching. Yes, Dr. Moitri De.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and good morning, all of you, my colleagues and the participants. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm really sorry I'm not able to connect all this time. And but this will not happen during your courses, and I'll make sure of that. And I'm Dr. Moitri De. I'm teaching public policy and public administration in the Department of Mata Sundari Political Science, Mata Sundari College for Women, Delhi University, for the past 1 decade now. So, and my research is also on public policy. So I have done an extensive field work all through my PhD work, and otherwise also I was associated with NUPA, and I have done field work, and I've been talking about all these education policies as well. So my expert area is public policy, and here also I'll be talking about public policy, and in public policy I'll be talking particularly about policy analysis. because policy analysis is that field which is more specific within public policy. And here in public policy analysis, we will try to understand what is policy analysis, how it is different from public policy or policy cycle as we understand, and why policy analysis is so important, and the significance of policy analysis have significantly improved over the years, and particularly in a developing country like India, where we have been talking about policy analysis. And in the past 1 decade or so, I can see so many courses and so many people talking about policy analysis. And policy analysis is one field which is now not only confined to the government realm, but it has gone beyond that, and it is now we can see in the corporate houses also, they have been looking for people with policy expert, policy analyst. So policy analysis is that particular subject which I'll be talking about. Here in this course, we have tried to put in as many dimension and aspects of policy analysis as much we can during this 30-hour course. So initially, we will be talking about the theoretical aspects of this course. And here, theoretically, I meant the theories, the models, how do we do the analysis? There are different methods and techniques for doing that we will be discussing. And during my course work, I will also expect my participant to be interactive and participative, and will try to use all these theoretical aspects which we will be learning all through in our case studies. So I expect them to apply those theoretical techniques, methods, whatever we have been teaching in those case studies. And I want you to do assignments and presentation on that by using those methods. And you can take up any other sector also. Although our case studies are confined to 4th area, but you are free to take up any other policies for your assignment. So we will be discussing more in detail while we do the course. And yes, as ma'am have been constantly telling you, please be regular in the class, because if you miss out on any one of the class, then you won't be able to connect the dots. That is one thing which I would like. And if you have any issues, maybe you can let us know. If we can reschedule your classes, we can do that. So in case if you have any kind of emergency, if you can give us a prior information, then maybe if time permits, and all of us can adjust accordingly. So this is one thing. And secondly, I'll be sharing a classroom link for, I'll be creating a Google Classroom link, and I'll be sharing that, and all the e-resources, whatever is available to me, I'll share in your Google Classroom. So the link for that, I'll be sharing with you on your mail IDs. And anything else you want to know from me, you can ask me. The participant can ask me anything, any query, any doubt, anything you want to ask. From next week, I'll be there.
Fine. Thank you, Maitri. If there's nothing more that you wish to add, then I will proceed with your paper first, because
Sure,
Maitri is here. So in case I want her to elaborate on anything, so let me not go, I won't be able to, I intended to go sequentially, beginning with CC1, then move to CC2, CC3 and 4. But since Maitri may have to leave, and we are in her paper, I mean, she's already introduced it to you, I thought maybe I could add on a little more. And let's discuss the second paper first, which is CC2. And by the way, Maitri, let me inform you, because you were not there yesterday, I have already extended the option of taking any other paper and any other course that you wish to right away to all the participants till 18th. And any fresh admissions also allowed till 18th, because 19th is when all the course instructors will start teaching, and we close our admissions completely from 19th. In case anybody thinks that 2 courses would be a better idea, of course we'll be doing this again in another time of the year. The whole series will be repeated and more extensions given. But besides that, apart from that, if anybody feels that maybe 2 courses at a time will be helpful and beneficial, and you can manage the timings, which is most important, then the admissions are open for you as well. For anybody who wishes to take a second course, you can do that by 18th again. That's the absolute deadline and closure of admissions by 18th March. Now, let me move on, because that was the purpose today of the second session. That is to introduce you to the 4 courses, the content, the intention, and the kind of syllabus we have made, and why have we done that, a rationale for the syllabi that you will get to see, and what's the benefit of taking that course. That is, what is the outcome, what are you really learning from this course. This is something that I wish to talk about. Now, looking at public policy analysis, it's important that when we are looking at different kinds of policies, we have what is called a policy cycle. That's very, very important. Right away, I have to tell you that policies are not made in a vacuum or in a day. It's a very, very time-consuming process. The way policies are made, they are implemented, they are reviewed, feedback taken, modifications done, changes done, and again, the policy gets back on track. So, and policy changes are not that frequent or easy, or something that can happen any day, every day, or every 2 months, or 3 months. To just give an example, the current education policy, the new education policy that everybody is talking about, has been revised after 34 years. So that goes to show how much time it took to work on a policy, go through it, get the feedback, involve, then, get into the process of revising by involving all the stakeholders, the debates, discussions, and finally the government gets into action. Because public policies, the major difference between public policies and all other kinds of policies, private, organizational, the major difference is it's the government, officially the government which has to legislate. So public policies are not made by private organizations or individuals. The policies are made for the public, but the makers of the policy, they may involve a lot of stakeholders in debates and discussions. But please remember the basic difference between private policy or any private organizational policy, because everybody makes policies, every organization has policies. So private sector, corporate sector, private organizations also have policies. They are guidelines to their behavior, their conduct, or whatever they wish to do. So you need policies as guidelines for action. Whether in the private sector or in the public sector, you always need policies. They are objectives. They spell out your vision and mission and what you intend to do over a period of time, of course. And all of them are carefully designed. Even private sector designs its policies, corporate sector designs its working policies after a lot of thought. But they do not need public sanctions to be made operational. Whereas public policies are made by government authorities, public authorities, who can legislate, who can make these policies. So public policies are backed by legal sanctions. That's extremely important. Public policies can be constitutional, legal, backed by law, backed by penalties if you violate laws or public policies. There can be penalties, and the only authority that can use coercive force against a citizen is the state, the government, the duly elected political a part of the executive called the government, which makes policy and also can take punitive action against citizens in case you violate the law or the policy. That is what makes public policy distinct, different. Otherwise, we are constantly talking of policies. Everybody makes policies. Even families have policies. Communities have policies. Private sector, corporate sector have policies. And what are policies? They are guides to action. So therefore, everybody needs policies, but there has to be a distinction between other policies and public policy. Public policy can be made by the government, and it's backed by legal sanction, backed by coercive action if necessary for those citizens who violate the law and the public policy. That is what makes public policy distinct and different from other kinds of policies. And what are public policies all about? They tell you what the government wishes to do or does not wish to do in a particular sector of action. So when we talk of public policies, we generalize, but basically all policies hit the citizen in a sectoral sense. Education policy, health policy, telecom policy, right? Environment policy. These are different policies for different sectors, wherein the government tells you what it will do for that sector over a period of time, and how and where the citizen is a beneficiary. So you become a beneficiary of the law and public action or government policy, and you are entitled to certain public goods and services from the government through that policy in that sector only. Now, let me be very, very specific and focused, because you have to understand what is public policy all about. You will be doing courses. So you need to understand that public policies are different from other policies. They are backed by legal sanctions and coercive action. Only the state can take against the citizen. No other organization, no other body can take coercive action against a citizen if they violate the law or public policy. Only the state can. And therefore, the state is involved in public policy making, implementation, review, further action, whatever is necessary in a particular sector or area. And that is public policy. But public policy does not mean what the government does only. It also refers to what the government does not do. That's very important, what it includes and what it excludes. So public policies are all about inclusion, who are the beneficiaries of government action, and exclusion, who are left out from that policy. And if you as a citizen feel that you should be a beneficiary and not left out, you want to be included and not excluded, then there are various ways in which you will advocate public action: through a movement, through writing, through the media, or going to your MP or MLA to protest. There are various ways in which an ordinary citizen can participate in what he or she believes is a legitimate way of letting your agenda taken up by the government in an agenda for policy action. So policies are not theories, they are agendas for action. And that's what makes policy research different from basic research. You must understand, basic research is all about knowledge gaining. If you're doing research on a particular area, you want to gain knowledge on that area. But policy research is different. Policy research means it has to be action-oriented research. You're debating a certain area in which you feel government should take action. So policy research is different from basic research in social science or any kind of science. Having said that, let's look at public policy analysis. The paper which Dr. Moitri, they will address after 19th March. Look at the syllabus. If I have the syllabus in front of me. So it's all about 4 units, which every syllabus has. So first you will be, Dr. Moitri will tell you about what public policy is all about, the concept, types of policy, models of policy, what are the enablers and what are the constraints on public policy. What does this mean? This means every policy has to be operated in a social, economic, and political environment. You cannot divorce public policy from its environment. Public policies don't operate in a vacuum. They operate in a socio-political, economic environment. And that environment can be an enabler that helps in the promotion of that policy, that helps in that policy being a success, even if it means, very positive inputs from the public. That's an enabling factor. When the public cooperates, participates, and helps the policy to move along, that's an enabler. But there can be constraints, which makes the policy a failure and needs modification. So when you're doing policy analysis, remember, what are you looking at in that paper? What are you analyzing when you're doing public policy analysis? You're looking at a sectoral policy as a case study. Maybe that's towards the end. First, of course, the first 2 units are all about the process of analysis, the tools of analysis, the techniques of analysis, who are the stakeholders who do analysis. There can be think tanks, there can be government evaluation, there can be NGO evaluation, there can be other think tanks and NGOs who do this work of evaluation and impact analysis. So there are agencies who do officially impact analysis or evaluation of government policies and programs. So it's a structured kind of work. Not everybody in the public can do analysis. So for a public policy analysis, as a structured way of research, has to be done by those who are equipped with the tools of analysis. You and me can't do it. So to be equipped with the tools, you have to understand what public policy analysis means. As I said, it's very important to understand what helps a policy to succeed, what makes it fail. So environment study, the study of the environment in which that public policy will be implemented, is very, very important, the environment study. And then you look at the enabling factors and the factors which put brakes on that policy, the restraint factors or the disabling factors. You have enabling factors, you have disabling factors, whereby a particular policy fails. When you come to analyzing it, you look at both factors. Why a particular public policy, let's say, succeeds in one state of India, why it has differentiated outcome in another state of India. In fact, when you're doing this, let me tell you something. I've made a study of this, and therefore I'm telling you, the biggest problem in India today is that of differentiated outcomes of a particular public policy, whether it's a national mega policy, like the education policy or the health policy, or it could be the food policy, it could be the industry policy, it could be any policy, let's say central government policy. NREGA, for example, is the largest wage employment program in the world. Mahatma Gandhi Rural Employment Program is the largest wage employment program in the world. It's what is called a mega government policy. But do you know, when it comes to implementation, because so many impact studies and so many implementation studies, so many public policy analysis studies on NREGA have showed that it has differentiated outcomes in different states of India. Look at the NREGA reports on government websites. You will see that the outcomes are different in 28 states of India. That is public policy analysis. When you can see that 28 states of India do not implement or do not show the same outcomes for the same mega government policy. This is what analysis means. Why? Why 28 states of India do not implement or show similar outcomes for the same mega national government policy? That brings us to enabling factors, disabling factors, environment factors, political will may be lacking, the bureaucratic implementation, something went wrong because the political will, two major factors which help a policy to succeed. Public participation comes later. The two most important factors when you look at public policy analysis is the political will and the political machinery sufficiently enthusing, giving you positive, are they sufficiently willing to give the political support to implementers? Are they going along all the way to support the bureaucrats who implement? And the second is the bureaucratic capacity or incapacity, the bureaucratic outcomes and failures who implement. So these are two. If the political administrative relationship in a particular state goes right, there's no reason why the outcomes should be bad. Outcomes should be failures. So the two crucial things in policy analysis is to see whether politico-administrative relationship, the political will and the administrative capacity. So these are very vital inputs for in policy analysis. If were they right, then you come to other disabling factors. Maybe public participation was lacking, societal inputs were lacking, there was no sufficient awareness and so on. So, the policy failed. There could be various reasons for policy failure. So public policy analysis is not that you and I can do so easily, or the public can sit down and analyze a public policy. It's specialized work. You need to understand theory. You need to understand the techniques. What is cost benefit analysis? What is survey method? What is input output method? These are tools of public policy analysis which you must learn, understand in order to use, right? Then you move on to government institutions, agencies, civil society, media, who do analysis, who actually do analysis. Government gives the job of analysis sometimes to its own organizations. So there's an in-house analysis going on in government, and it also gives this task to outside agencies. Could be NGOs, could be think tanks, could be anybody in the media who also do analysis and report to the public. What is the purpose of this? This analysis earlier used to be a very secret government affair, in-house, secret government in-house affair, because government needs to know how its policies are going, successfully, unsuccessful. They need the feedback. So every policy maker needs a feedback. But earlier, the government used to do it as a technical job, in-house technical job. And the public would never get to know any information about analysis, whether the policy is going right or going wrong or what's happening to the policy. That information was never given out to the public. But today, it's a different story. Analysis involves non-governmental agencies, think tanks, who can report without bias, as objectively as possible. What are the roadblocks? What are the reasons for failure? Why a particular public policy succeeds in 10 states of India, shows mediocre results in 10 other states, and in 7-8 states it completely flounders, fails. I think the biggest laboratory for experimentation of the relative reasons for failure or success is in India itself. The 28 states of India can give you the best understanding of why certain policies which are mega policies of the government of India are showing differentiated results and outcomes, even by government reports. Government websites tell you where there is 100% implementation and why it has succeeded, why it's 80%, why it's 60%, why it's 40, why it's 20, and so on. So this is the biggest story which public policy analysis has shown why the environmental factors or external factors or some other factors do not lead to same outcomes of the same policy in different states of India. This is something to probe about. Look at the Niti Aayog reports on human development, SDG goal implementation. The human development reporting of Niti Aayog, it's a government agency which tells you which are the states which are doing well in in some sectors of human development like health, education, and so on, and why the outcomes are very, very different in other states of India. So outcome study will only happen, impact study, impact analysis will only happen when you do this paper of public policy analysis. You will understand with case studies, because in unit 4 you have policy case studies on health, education, environment, telecom. So there are 4 case studies which will be done in unit 4, and you will analyze these policies with the tools that have been told to you or elaborated in the earlier units. So first you learn what analysis is all about in theory, then you move to techniques and tools in the next unit, then you look at the stakeholders and think tanks and agencies who do analysis for you, and then by the time you reach unit 4, you will be able to use the tools of analysis that you have learned to analyze education, health, environment, telecom are 4 examples only. There are so many more, but you would understand how to analyze a particular public policy. And that's important for the public to know, the knowledge to come into the public domain, which never happened earlier. I'm telling you, government always did public policy analysis. It was a technical job done by the Planning Commission. Today, we don't have the Planning Commission, it's the Niti Aayog. And in-house information was meant for government politicians, ministers, and bureaucrats only. Maybe sometimes discussed in parliament, maybe never. But today, public policy analysis, as it should be in a democratic state, the outputs of that analysis, the outcomes of that analysis should come out in the public domain. And people should know why government is failing, why some state governments don't perform, why human development indicators in some states are very good, moderate, and very bad in some other states. You need to know the reasons why governance has failed somewhere and governance is performing somewhere. So, public policy and governance is all about knowledge about public policies and governance, inputs and outputs and outcomes, and all of it should be published and put before the public. But for you as a student, as a participant of that course, I think this is what we intend to give you as knowledge inputs in this course. So please watch out for this course, Public Policy Analysis, which Dr. Moitrey Dev will be taking for you through your class discussions, interactions. You can be further enlightened, and you may be asked to do one case study at the end, whereby you use the tools you've learned to analyze a particular public policy. And that's very, very important. So I think that's enough for public policy analysis paper, which is CC2. Moitrey, do you have anything to add? You can.
No, ma'am, thank you so much. You have summarized everything so nicely, and more details I'll be teaching them. So I'll try to talk to them during that period only.
Any of the participants of that course, those who've opted for that course, Anybody wishes to ask a question, please do. If you want to be further enlightened, the course instructor is right here. So if anyone who's opted for this course wants to speak, please go ahead. If not, we proceed with CC1 right now, because in 2 hours I have to cover all the 4 papers. So
yeah, if there is any questions, I'm happy to answer all of you.
Yes. I presume there is none, no questions. So let us move to CC1.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you
yes,
so much.
Dr. Maitri. She starts
Okay.
from 19th March, like all others. Maitri, what are your timings, please?
10 to 12, ma'am.
10 to 12. Every Saturday
Yes, ma'am.
and Sunday.
Sunday,
Okay?
10 to 12.
Yes, and please remember, I'm repeating, every topic will be covered in one lecture only. So please do not absent yourself. And if you want to discuss that topic again, do it in the very next class. 15 minutes interaction time will be given in every lecture, so that if there's something you didn't follow in the last lecture, go ahead and ask it in the very next lecture. Don't keep it till the end. In the end, there's a rush to finish the syllabus, and also you'll have your one class presentation, one mock, an objective type test. There could be presentations, there could be other home assignments to be discussed. So don't keep any backlog. If you want to, you've done a topic, it's been done in the lecture, go ahead and ask your question in the very next one. And e-resources are all there to help you. That's it. So let me move to the next, the first paper actually, CC1, Introduction to Public Policy and Governance. Very briefly, Gauri, can you just sum up what you are going to do in the 4 units? Just a brief, and then I'll supplement with what additional inputs I can give on this paper. But very briefly, what have you put in the 4 units? What are you going to do there? Please go ahead.
Good morning, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Good morning, my fellow colleagues and dear students. The CC1 syllabus has been very scientifically devised. It journeys through 4 units, wherein first two units are dedicated to public policy, while the next 2 units focus specifically on governance. Now, if we come to the first unit, it deals with different concepts of public policy, which includes the features, policy cycles, policy determinants, what are the socioeconomic impact of public policy, uh, so to say. When we come to Unit 2, it is also dedicated to public policy. It deals with the models of public policy, which are given by various political scientists such as Harold Laswell, Charles Lindblom, and Herbert Simon, etc., upon public policy. And trust me, it is going to be very interesting. So, coming to the third unit, which basically deals with the governance, and it talks about what governance is all about. It gives you an idea that how this whole concept of governance came into being, and what is the role of market and civil society and state as far as the question of governance is concerned, and what are the reforms that are there in the field of governance. The last unit, which is the fourth unit, deals with the role of governance in India, where we will be covering we'll be talking about various regulatory bodies such as SEBI, TRI, etc. And also we will discuss how this whole planning commission, transform journeyed to become a think tank, and it emerged in Niti Aayog, like what ma'am has just talked about. Uh, it will also focus upon case studies, where you will be evaluated through and in this course you will be evaluated through home assignments, case studies, presentations, quizzes. Also classroom interactions should also be there, and I want my class and my students to be very interactive. uh, and along with the final exam, which will be objective type. So thus the course will help you understand the complexities of interacting social, economic, and political processes, and their implications on governance and public policy. So we welcome you all on board. and it's going to be a very interesting journey and a great learning experience.
Hello, can you hear me? There's a slight
Thank
problem.
you.
Yes, yes. Just a minute. Yes. Thank you, Gauri. So you've given an overview of the 4 units, which is very, very important. Can all of you hear me? Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Now let me add on a little to what Gauri has said. You see, this is the introductory course. This is the introductory course on public policy and governance. So therefore, you will be introduced to the concept of public policy, the theories of public policy, the major thinkers who've contributed to the concept and theory or models of public policy, like Harold Daswell, Dror, Lindblom, Herbert Simon, and so on, who talk about their own models of what they think public policy is all about. And then we move to the governance. Actually governance has changed a lot today, which is very, very important for all of you to understand. We do not talk of government alone. Today we talk of a shift, that is shift to governance, which means it's not just the political executive with the administration which make policies, implement policies, or review policies. Other stakeholders have gone into governance, like private sector, voluntary sector, civil society, and so on. So there is a big shift from the concept of government, which meant only the political executive, that is the government, the political regime in power, democratically elected. They are they are there for a particular term. They are the changing aspect of governance because they have to be re-elected every time they face elections. They are the changing aspect of the political executive who make law and public policy. But there is a stable, permanent element of political executive who also make laws, also implement, also review, and that's the bureaucracy. That's the civil service. They, together with the political executive, constitute the governance aspect or the government aspect as we understood it earlier. But today, we do not mean only the political executive in action when we talk of public policy. It's not just the political regime, which is changeable because in a democracy, they have to face elections every 5 years. They are the changing element of the executive. And of course, you have the non-changing, stable, permanent element of the executive, the bureaucracy, the administration. They used to be the ones who made policy, implemented policy, reviewed policy at one time. But today, we in every country of the world, not India alone, every country, developed or developing, there's a shift from government to governance, which is what will be done in Unit 3. You have to understand who are the other stakeholders in public policy making, implementation, and review. The other stakeholders are the private sector, the NGO sector. There could be think tanks, there could be the media, there could be civil society, who all have got into the policy cycle. And what is the policy cycle? Which is the first primary important thing that you will be taught and told to understand. The policy cycle is all about how a problem gets into the policy agenda and how it is taken up by politicians in their manifestos. They fight elections, and officially, if they win, that problem gets into the policy agenda officially because they're democratically elected. They can now make law and public policy. And thereafter, the process of legislation starts, how a bill becomes a law is a legislative process. Then that law is given to the bureaucracy, the administration for implementation, which they do. There are enabling factors, disabling factors in that implementation cycle. The public may be informed, may be misinformed, may cooperate, may not cooperate. So implementation may be hastened, may be slowed down. And then the review starts, the feedback process starts, whereby the government gets to know what needs to be modified, changed, or kept the same. This is called the policy cycle. Please remember, you begin policy studies with that. This cycle, when a problem needs a solution, it has to be brought into the agenda of a political party, which will now contest elections based on its manifesto, which maybe carries your agenda. And then, after it wins the election, it proposes bills, which again goes through a process and becomes a law. And then the law or the public policy, which again the political executive alone can make, it comes to the bureaucracy, the administration for implementation. Implementation can be all types, leading to differentiated outcomes. And I said, the biggest problem in India today, if you ask me, the biggest problem in India today is Indian citizens are subjected to differentiated outcomes of public policies. It depends a lot on which state of India you're working in which sector you're working in, informal or formal. You will find you do not get the same entitlements of public goods and services. You are a citizen of India, you are entitled to same laws, and you expect same outcomes, and you expect same entitlements from the government. But that does not happen in India. We are divided not only by race, caste, class, region, religion. We are divided by differentiated governance outcomes. And that's very, very important in our public discourses to understand that Indians are not subjected to the same uniformity of governance. You know, look at the Niti Aayog reports. They will tell you which are the states which are doing well in economic growth, in human development, in sustainable development goals implementation. You will then know how different are governance outcomes in different states of India. Whom do you blame? The government of that state, the public, or the bureaucracy? You have to blame somebody. Why? Otherwise, there is so much inequality in what an Indian citizen gets by way of public goods and services, depending on which state or which sector of work they are in. This should not happen ideally in a democracy. Democratic theory talks about equality of citizens. Morally, one citizen is equal to another in a democracy. But that does not happen in India. We are not only, there are great divides in this country. Some of the divides you can't do anything about. Tell me, what can you do about race, caste, religion, gender? They are given to you, they are fixed. They are part of your identity. What can you do if you're divided by that? We must understand, some are given to you. You have no way of changing them. So race, caste, gender, and region, religion, these are fixed, given to you. You can't do anything about them. But what can you change? You can change your economic class. You can change your job. You can change, you can demand equality in certain spheres, which the government can take care and should see that every Indian citizen gets the same package of public goods and services as another Indian citizen, irrespective of where you reside, what job you do, which state you may work in. So, governance is important and outcomes are important. So, public policy governance, which Dr. Gauri Narayan Mathur will explain to you in Unit 3, is why is there today a shift from government to governance? Because there are more stakeholders today. We have shifted from those days when there is a fixed political executive, a government which is elected, and a bureaucracy which is not elected but is responsible for outcomes, which has to implement public goods and policies. And you will see that there is no uniformity in India in governance outcomes. So therefore, this is very, very important for you in Unit 3. And Unit 4 will talk of how government is changing. Who are the new regulators? After globalization, liberalization, privatization, you need more regulation. The government might have withdrawn a lot from many sectors, but it is a regulatory state now. So government itself has changed from being at the commanding heights of the economy to being a mere regulator in the market. So government is only trying to ensure a level playing field in the market today. The government of India is a regulatory state, right? So it has withdrawn from the public sector in various ways. Allowed the market to come in, private investment to come in, private players to come in. But if you allow that, which we have done in the last 30 years, you need to understand the changing role of the government as a regulator, and government has a think tank called Niti Aayog. And what is Niti Aayog doing? It's reporting on government outcomes in different states of India, telling you which state is doing what are the government policies, how they are implementing, what are the outcomes of those policies, how states are in competition with one another in human development, economic growth, and SDG goal implementation. And therefore, I will talk of data and the importance of data in the last paper, not right now, because it's Gauri's paper, which will handle, and I'm looking at Gauri's paper once again. Please, Gauri, I will expect you to do a good job when it comes to models. Because, Harold Laswell said that public policy is a science, and that is being debated because public policy is not yet a science. Despite knowledge economy and data science having come in, public policy is all about art and craft of governance. Public policy is all about politics, political contestations. So public policy started as a science, and Harold Laswell was the first thinker who talked of policy sciences. He said policies should become science. And so the public will get good policies because, it's all about science today. So therefore, the intention was to make policy studies a science so that people, it is predictable. Every policy becomes predictable. And, the database behind every public policy, why it was adopted. So policy's intention of making it a science was people will benefit. People will know why certain policies were adopted, make them predictable, and see the outcomes. But sadly, Harold Laswell is not alive to see that today the debates have changed. We know public policy is not a science. It is an art and a craft. It includes politics. Therefore, there are enabling factors and disabling factors. Tell me, if public policy is all about science, then why are there differentiated outcomes of different public policies? It should have shown same predictable results everywhere. Every public policy implemented everywhere should have succeeded with scientific certainty. Why that's not happening? That shows people, human beings are not predictable. And public policy makers and implementers are not predictable either. There is a big difference in the way the implementation story goes. So therefore, you have to understand that government has changed, the story of governance has changed, and sadly, even today, we do not and cannot call public policy studies a science or policy as a science. It's more of humanities, more of arts, more of art and craft, more of politics. And that is why there cannot be predictable scientific policy studies. We are looking for it, wanting to make it happen, but it never happens. So, therefore, look at the environment of public policy, how it is being implemented, which are the enabling and disabling factors. Because there are variations, there is lack of uniformity, and there are differentiated outcomes. Why? If in science that does not happen. In science, science is absolutely predictable. There's certainties of expectations.
There
But
is
in policy
uniformity.
science, you can't have it. So I think all of this will make the paper very exciting, very interesting. And please do look forward to interesting debates with Dr. Gauri Narayan Mathur, who will be teaching you this paper, the first paper. And I hope you get a very good, this is a very good introductory course to public policy and governance. And why, and then you can link it up to everything to India through the case studies. That's very important to understand the public policy making, implementation, and review scenario in India. And every average citizen is supposed to have some knowledge of this. So, thank you, Gauri, for your introduction. And I think students have also been introduced as much as I could. So, two papers having been done, I will ask and request
Thank you so
Dr.
much, ma'am.
Vanishri. Yes, thank you, Gauri. Do any of the participants here have any queries regarding the first paper?
Yes,
Anyone
if
has any?
anyone who has any doubt, please ask.
Well, I think they need to be exposed to the paper first and then the queries will come in. That's the way it should be, I guess. Now they are not yet, they haven't been introduced to the paper. Now, Dr. Vanishri Agarwal, may I request you to introduce a paper, your paper, unit-wise. So, they get an idea of what you are doing. And then, of course, I'll round up with an overview. Yes, Dr. Vanishri Agarwal, the third paper on digital governance, e-administration and digital governance. This is a very current, contemporary paper, and you must understand significance of e-governance. To understand the significance of the word e-governance, which is being used so widely, you need to understand this paper. Yes, Vanishri, unit-wise, will you introduce your paper?
Ma'am, I think your voice.
Will you?
We can't hear
Yes.
you.
Can't
Is it
hear
okay
you,
now?
Vanishri.
Is it
Yes,
okay? Yeah,
Will
yeah.
you
I'm sorry.
unmute yourself? Yes.
Yeah. A very warm welcome and very good morning to all of you. It's a wonderful introduction with ma'am taking us through the wonderful realm of public policy with our other resource persons. Ma'am, can I share a PPT? Is that?
Yes, please. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
I'm just trying if the system allows me to. Is it visible, ma'am?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
It's okay, ma'am. I'll go ahead. Otherwise, we'll lose on time. It's okay.
Yes,
There's
yes.
something stuck,
There's
which is
just one more paper to be.
yeah. I had made a
Go
PPT.
ahead.
Doesn't matter. Okay. So e-governance. See, these are the challenges that we are going to take you right through in unit 4. This is how when you try and connect through each other through the online model. This is how challenges surmise. I was trying to share a PPT and it has somehow not happened. This is what happens also in cases of public service mechanism delivery. And therein comes the challenges, as ma'am was talking about, that the service outcomes of a policy are differentiated all throughout India, because as you know, each state has a different system of, delivery of services. And that is why we have devised this course in 4 units. Unit 1 is about introduction. Now, why do you need an introduction? Because we need to understand now e-governance is everywhere, and we have moved from government to governance, to even mobile governance, and perhaps even more, where perhaps you must have seen on WhatsApp the new ones, whereby not only your watch, even some messages will start flowing in through your palms or your tabletops or your walls. Already such TVs have come. You might have them in your homes. So soon governance will also be moving to that level. Now, how did we reach to this level is what we are talking to you about introduction. India has been a front runner in computer technologies, and as you know, when we talk about brain drain, many computer people have gone out from the country, because that is the chief resource that our country has. Now, how did our country make use of that key resource, and how computers got integrated into the realm of administration? It's a wonderful journey that takes you right from the 1960s, when the importance of computer integration came up. And we go till as latest as 2022, where we see how in Unit 1 itself, we will see how over the past 2 years, how COVID management was done using e-governance resources. So through a wonderful realm of, a journey taking from 1960s to 2022, but not in a boring history fashion, which may put you off. It would be an interesting audio-visual and PPT round, which would help you to understand why we are here where we are today. And it is very important to understand, what does e-governance actually mean? And in that unit, the first unit itself, we will be understanding, apart from the trajectory of development, what does it mean? What is its scope? What is its significance? Why is it important for us to, take it through? Unit 2 then talks about facilitators of e-governance. Once you have understood the importance of e-governance, why it is required, we need to understand what are its facilitators, how government has put in some institutions, some structures. Apart from that, we throw some light on the basic concept around the context around public policy, around public administration. What was the need to integrate e-governance? What was the background to it? Did we was there some problem with our governance models? Was corruption happening? Was the citizen not getting his due? What were the problems that made us, come through to this level? So that is what we are going to take you through in Unit 2. Then Unit 3 and 4 would be, as ma'am said, proper practical based units, in which we try and understand what are the projects that our government is running. It's a vast country, and our Prime Minister has given the vision of making it a $5 trillion economy by 2025, probably. I don't know how much that is going to be feasible, but to integrate the general public into normal governance, this is how the government is going about. So Unit 3, we are going to see India, as you know, is more still has a more of a rural character. So we are going through subunits 1 and 2, which would be taking about the rural populace and what are the schemes that have been implemented in the rural hinterland, so as to integrate even that population into the mainstream, who may not be, very good computer users, or they do not have digital literacy still, but still how they can avail of government services through the, service centers, which have been put in even till the panchayat level. Then we take you through the urban administration and try to understand what are the challenges in urban governance, which are being addressed through systems of digital governance. And finally, Unit 4, then we come about to the opportunities and the challenges, which are reigning in this realm from going full on, and where do we stand in comparison to the other countries. In opportunities, we are going to take you through a project life cycle to understand how does an e-governance project take you through? We are not talking about the technical components, but we will give you a basic understanding of how you would go about devising a project should you wish in future to make a career out of this niche. It would help you to understand what key skills do you need to upgrade to if you want to have a future career in e-governance. And in challenges, then we try to understand, as ma'am was saying, how the outcomes are varying. What are the problems that affect, various states, and why the policy outcomes are different. So this is going to be a journey starting from the 19th. Over to ma'am.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Vanishri Agarwal. She'll take you through the governance journey of India. And no, first, of course, she will talk about concepts and how e-governance has been a game changer in the world today. If you ask me, there's one aspect of something that really changed governance seminally in the world. Later, of course, we'll talk about India. It's e-governance. The concept that you can use technology to deliver public goods and services. This is what e-governance is all about. If I have to define e-governance in one sentence, I would say the use of computers, the use of communication and computer and other kind of communication technology, how that can be used to deliver public goods and services to citizens in any state, and how it transforms the concept of governance itself, which used to be a manual affair. When we talked about government or governance and how public goods and services have to be delivered to the citizen, that was done physically, always, earlier. And therefore, one could see so many failures. If you look at Indian plans, the Planning Commission itself reports on projects, plans, first 5-year plan to 5-year plan to I don't know how many plans we've had so far before the Planning Commission closed down. And today we have Niti Aayog. That's another story. But I'm trying to say, throughout the planned journey of the government of India to deliver development, to deliver growth, to deliver public goods and services, and this entire journey of development, nation building and development in India over 75 years, if you look at that journey, if you look at government efforts, it's not as though allocations were insufficient. It's something of a myth that we have India as a poor country, India is a scarcity-laden country, India didn't have the public finances enough to go for wholesale development the way others have progressed. Let's say East Asia and other developing countries, the kind of progress they are showing our fellow neighboring countries in Asia itself. I'm not talking of the developed world, I'm talking of the developing world. If we go for a comparison, we will see that India has always underperformed. India has always not delivered the way it should have. It's not as though financial allocations were not made enough for development. What happened was, if you look at the policy cycle and the policy story and the development story of India, you will see there is or has been a huge gap between promises and performance, between allocations made and delivered to the citizen. So there was a gap which is called the implementation gap. It's not a question of resources. I'm repeating it again. You must understand, enough money was allocated in plans for growth, development, service delivery to implement the various programs of the government of India. So money was given, sanctioned officially, but in the Planning Commission reports, debated in Parliament, report after report talked of policy failures, non-implementation, policy gap, and of course, a huge gap that is called the implementation gap between promises made and delivered, between the plan sanctions made and the plan outcome reports. This goes to show that in physical delivery, manual delivery of development, manual delivery of services to the people, there is corruption, there are leakages, and implementation went wrong in India. Contrary to the usual story that you've heard, India is a poor country. India never had the resources. India's growth rates and abysmal levels of poverty proves that we never had the money. That there was a scarcity of resources, and that 3 to 5% growth, if you have, which we had till late 90s, when the new economic policy started, our growth rates were hovering between 3 to 5, and our poverty rate was almost 75% below poverty line. If this is the story of India, then you will understand what magic e-governance can do for you. It's sheer transformation of the implementation story. It's a sheer transformation of the implementation story where the intermediaries, the middlemen, the corruption, the leakages can vanish. It's a direct contact of the state with the citizen through e-governance. There is no physical manual service delivery. It can be service delivery can be at your doorstep, as I said, through e-governance. It talks of public service delivery not manually done. No person, no government servant you have to meet or reach up to or visit a government office even. All the services can be delivered through e-governance at your doorstep, which plugs loopholes, plugs non-implementation, plugs corruption, plugs leakages. So you see, transformation of governance in India through e-governance can happen if it is done the way it should be done. We haven't yet done it, but the promise is there of complete transformation of governance through e-governance, and that is what makes Vanashree's paper so significant. She'll tell you the story of how e-governance started modestly, in some states of India, the service centers which were started, and how gradually every state of India took it up in a big way. And the initiatives, the best initiatives for e-governance came from the 28 states of India. Today, 20 states of India have the Public Service Guarantee Acts. So everything is possible today without corruption. And therefore, the current political regime is talking of JAM. What is JAM? The Trinity, that every public service can be given to you through your mobile telephone. And India is the largest market for mobile telephones. India is potentially the largest market for mobile telephones, let me tell you. And all your services can be delivered, public goods and services can be delivered through the mobile. And that is what the government has promised in the next few years, that they will transform the implementation landscape in India. Public service delivery will magically be changed. All corruption stopped, all leakages stopped. At the common man's level, there will be no corruption. There is always political corruption, maybe at the highest levels. There will always remain some corruption at some level, but that should not hit the common man. The common man, for every little public service that poor fellow wants, he has to bribe someone, go to a government office, make some bureaucrat happy. That's not required anymore. You are young citizens of India who are doing these courses. Watch out for India in the next 10 years. I'm sure the government will deliver what it has promised, and everybody can buy a mobile telephone. Everybody can buy a mobile, and you just have to follow up on government services relentlessly to see that it works. E-governance works for you. I remember how we had to stand in a queue in our earlier days in railway stations to get railway tickets. There was this unending queue in railway stations to get just a railway ticket. Today, you don't have to do that. You can book everything. In fact, the kind of India we have seen, the young people cannot visualize. The petty corruption. The petty corruption at every level, central level, state level, panchayat level. You know, the kind of bureaucratic corruption, the political corruption, which hits the common man. That is the corruption that can go with e-governance. You don't have to subject yourself to that kind of, corruption anymore. So e-governance is a game changer. E-governance can transform the implementation landscape. So all this talk about mobile governance is possible. It's feasible. It's at our doorstep. And all the 28 states of India have done a wonderful job through common service centers. And they're transferring more and more public services, public goods and services to e-governance. So that, a common man, a common citizen of India can get everything from the government without corruption, without bribes, without standing in queues. Therefore, e-governance is something you have to watch out. You must understand what is digital governance. It's not just empty words. You know, the impact of all the government schemes. We have seen how it has been transformed. So the gap between promise and implementation should go. The huge implementation gap, which was reported in every planning commission report. How much was allocated in every plan? What are the schemes for which allocations were made? How much percentage of implementation happened? And what did not happen? This is called policy gap. This is called implementation gap. And that was a common problem in all developing countries, including India, where we had so many 5-year plans, so much of allocation, and so little of delivery, so much of corruption, and common man suffering like anything. And it was a joke that government makes schemes only for itself. It never reaches the common man. So what are these government schemes about? Government of itself, by itself, for itself. Not for the common man. Nothing reaches them. No service delivery at the doorstep. So today, individual governments may differ. As I said, there are still differentiated outcomes of different government schemes. There are differentiated outcomes of performance, governance performance in different states of India. The problem is still there. But e-governance is the game changer, the tool of governance through which the common man can be serviced with all facilities without the intermediaries intervening through corruption. So this is something to be studied. We must understand how it all started in India, in different states, then moved on to center. Mind you, all e-governance initiatives came from different states of India. And even today, there is no central act like Central Public Service Guarantee Act. That is not there. There are only individual 20 states which have given service guarantees to citizens. And the amount of services from 500 to 1,000, or it could reach up to 5,000 services. So where is corruption? Where are leakages? You just need a mobile telephone, that's all. It's like ordering something, and you book something, and that reaches your doorstep. That is the game changer. In not only developed countries, it has happened already. Developing countries will also catch up. So all the new government schemes, there are 400 direct benefit transfer schemes, whereby directly government transfers money to your account. There are no intermediaries. All government schemes promise something. It can be done with great speed and transparency through e-governance only. All the big promises that government used to make at one time and never delivered, those days are gone. you as a citizen have the Right to Information Act. Use it. By the way, we have the Right to Information Act is one of the best acts globally. The other countries have Right to Information Act also. India's Right to Information Act is one of the best models globally. India, because of a large size, we are running schemes which have a global impact. And our best practices can have a global impact. Tariqa is the world's largest wage employment scheme. The midday meal scheme is the largest scheme of that type of meals given to school children in the world. Ayushman Bharat, that's the largest public health insurance scheme in the world. Even something on a trivial note, I can say, even the Kumbh Mela management became the largest management scheme in the world. To manage a Kumbh Mela, the Purna Kumbh Mela, that was reported as the largest government management scheme of a religious gathering in the world. So it's not that Indians can't do it. It's not that we don't have the capacity. Our software engineers, our computer engineers, our IT people are the best in the world, most knowledgeable in the world. They are managing they are global CEOs. So why can't we manage our public sector schemes? If we have such skills, such knowledge, such IT people, and we have the largest mobile telephone market in the world, then why can't we manage our public sector schemes? Why can't we manage our 400 direct benefit transfer schemes? Why are our citizens subject to differentiated citizen outcomes, differentiated government scheme outcomes? Why can't our citizens all stand up and fight for their rights, their entitlements? Morally, as citizens of India, we are all equal to one another. So we should get all public sector schemes, government schemes, central government, state government schemes through our mobile. And there is no need for corruption there. Corruption will vanish and leakages will vanish. Money spent by the government will reach the targets, reach the beneficiaries, and all through this game changer called e-governance. And that really can transform the implementation landscape, the implementation map of our country. We never had it. India's planning story is a story more of failures than of success. So we had many successful experiments also, no doubt. I can talk of the Green Revolution, I can talk of the White Revolution, I can talk of the Blue Revolution, I can talk of so many successes that in the planning period we had, including our educational model, which gave you 400 million educated middle class, which is the bulwark of any democracy. The 400 million middle class, which the planning period gives you, thanks to our educational subsidies. So it's not as though planning didn't work for us. It did, but it was a question of unfinished targets, unfinished agendas, implementation loopholes, implementation gap, malgovernance, corruption, leakages. That story can only change with e-governance. That's the promise for tomorrow, for your generation. You can fight for your entitlements, your rights, your public goods and services, and ask yourself the simple question, why differentiated outcomes in 28 states of India? That is bad governance. You need to ask your state governments why you can't catch up if you are showing mediocre human development outcomes or mediocre sustainable goal development outcomes in 10 states of India, or poor, you can ask them, why can't you catch up with the rest? After all, in India itself, there can be superlative performers. So if you do comparative public administration, comparative public policy, comparative goal implementation, you will understand that you have to catch up. States have to catch up with one another. States have to compete with one another. States have to compete in implementation to plug implementation gaps and loopholes. So this is the challenge of New India. This is the challenge of technology, which enables you to do so. In our days, in our young days, we didn't have that technology. Believe me, we as senior citizens, looking back on our young days, we could not address this issue. Today, you can address it through technology. That is the reason for optimism, that all these problems of loopholes, leakages, gaps, lack of implementation, corruption can be plugged today through e-governance. And therefore, watch out for this paper and whatever is in the syllabus. It will make a lot of sense, give you a lot of informed, will help you to understand public policy making, implementation, and review, how it has changed today. It's not the same old story. It is changing, and how it will change even more with technology. That's all I have to say about this before I move on to the last course. The course instructor, unfortunately, could not be present today. She had some other engagements. So I'm sorry, Dr. Sharmishta Aich, the course instructor for the 4th course, could not be present today. So I will have to give you an overview of data analytics for policy research. You see,
Ma'am, before that, I want to make
yes.
a comment.
Yes, please,
sorry to
please.
interrupt.
Before we
Yeah, and especially it came to my mind because I noticed in the yesterday's class that we had 2 or 3, participants from the corporate sector, and that is why I wish to, bring home the point how even the private sector, our big 4 auditing firms, Ernst & Y, KPMG, Deloitte, and PwC, they also have a government advisory vertical with them. And that is how they are aligning them with the big mission mode projects in India, such as the smart cities, the Swachh Bharat mission, and very many others. They are working in close conjunction with government, and that is why the government is able to deliver their e-governance services across India. And that is how even as ma'am was talking about, how the competition is being ensured among the states. It was never a feature earlier, but now as you must have heard about the Swachh Bharat mission. It was my doctoral research topic. Not to say much about it, but on the point of competition, the central government actually instituted a competition between the states on sanitation parameters. Where have you heard of it, in earlier times? So now all the states have to compete on various parameters, whether your city is clean, whether road sweeping is done, whether solid waste management has been done. And it's a program called Swachh Sarvekshan, which actually, imbibes points to all these things. So the urban local bodies are actually ranked, and the citizens have a Swachhata app wherein they can log in from their region, and if they have any problem or if they see that the work is not being done, it would be instantly updated. It would go to their dashboard, and from there it is directly monitored in the ministry. So such level of integration and implementation and hawk's eye on it, that is how the face of governance in India has been changing. And as ma'am was talking about the SDGs, I take this opportunity to tell you the SDG, that is the Sustainable Development Goal 6.2, that is on water and sanitation. It is India has been, progressing so well on it that it was being said that without India, this goal cannot be, completed. Only India, Africa, and some other countries were left behind in completing this. And the magnanimity of the challenge was such that within the overall goal number 6, a 6.2 had to be dedicated to water and sanitation. So you can very well imagine the scope of the problem that we have in hand. But of course, both in the rural and urban populace, you might have heard of it, with the Amitabh Bachchan jingles and very many ads on TV, it has actually been a very big success. So that is how, the loopholes are getting plugged, projects are being run in mission mode projects, and even SDGs are looking forward to India for their completion. This is how our success story is going to be. Over to ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Vanishri. I think it's very, very important in your paper to really see the potentialities of e-governance and from a citizen-centric point of view. I'm not just talking of government figures and what is put out in the public domain. We tend to sometimes trust government figures and data.
Absolutely.
Sometimes we don't. But even the independent reviews and social audit that goes on of government programs, that's taken on technology in a big way. So social audit is something that the public does of government programs. This is something you will also be exposed to, and you will be told about, that a government has changed, but the review of government programs through independent agencies is very important for you to get the real picture. Government may claim a lot of things, but whether it is civil society or media or the private sector or the NGO sector or the people themselves through Gram Sabha meetings or through social audit meetings, they are actually watching out and reviewing government schemes, government programs, and talking about them. So redressal, citizen redressal is also important. And that citizen redressal is also possible through technology. The government gets to know immediately what citizens are thinking about a program, what are their inputs, what is their feedback, and act on it. And they're acting on it. So governance is not the story of government is not the same story of governance in India today. And therefore, you need to watch out for what all these new developments are happening through technology, which have been citizen empowering, citizen enabling, and citizen centric. That is the concern we have as public policy in all these courses. We've made the courses from a citizen centric point of view. How anything impacts the citizen, how it impacts the public. Because I believe that in this whole word that we use, the two words that we use, public policy, in all our discourses, debates, and domain, the public should never be forgotten. It's the public who will make and unmake a policy. So the public review, public debates, feedback from the public is extremely important in democracies. If you have to improve, modify, change, review public policies, because they are the beneficiaries. If they do not benefit or it doesn't reach out to them, then, as I said earlier, it didn't reach out to the beneficiaries. So there was no redressal. Corruption happened and gone, no redressal. Today, technology has enabled redressal. Technology has enabled the citizen to reach the government, tell the government their story, and government has to act on it. So the citizen centricity of these discourses, the citizen is the central point of all our discourses on public policy. How does one enable the public, empower the public, and make all our programs citizen centric, and to see that there is no corruption and leakage at the public level, where we have to see that all these schemes really reach out to them. So these are matters which will be up for further discussion in the courses. Now, I have limited time. Let me talk about the last course. Another game changer, I would say, in our discourses on public policy and governance has been data science, the use of data analytics in public policy research and in getting sufficient data to redress the failures, implementation issues, or when any government claims success, has to be given, they have to give us evidence of it. And from where you get that evidence? From data science. So data science today is a big thing. Data analytics today is a big thing. These are statistical tools. Data analytics, by data analytics, you will be using statistical tools of public policy analysis, statistical tools of policy research, whereby you build up data sets to support, give evidence if you are criticizing something, or give evidence if you are saying a public policy is a success. What is the data supporting it? So evidence-based policy making, implementation, and research is a big thing in the world today. And in India, Niti Aayog is now doing just that, data analytics, using data science to review and give you a story of the outcomes, to tell you what is working, what is not working, which are the performing states, non-performing states, which are the states in which domain they are doing good, doing moderately, doing badly. And comparing, this comparison is doing very good for India. And you can't do comparison without data. You can't do comparative public policy research without data. So learning tools, methods, and techniques used for analyzing the data in social science is what this paper will teach you. That which are the tools of analysis and how do you use them as policy tools of data science to be able to generate enough data sets as evidence of whatever policy research or survey or outcome research or impact evaluation research that you are doing. Do you have data to prove your point? Otherwise, you're talking in the air. You're just making false claims, as governments often do. Fudging data in such a way you will never know what's happening, what is the real story. So if you remember, right to information movement in Rajasthan started with that. If you go to the history of the RTI movement in Rajasthan, हमारा पैसा हमें जवाब दो, हमारा that government जो कुछ बोल रहे हैं वो हम believe नहीं करेंगे till you show us the data. Actual physical evidence of how many taps installed or how many parks done, how much money spent in public schools, what are the things in those public schools that you're showing, are they there or not, so all this started in RTI movement in social movement in Rajasthan, where public officials would gather in a Jan Sunwai program in that movement, where public officials would give data to say this and this and this and this has been done. Money spent on this and this and this and this item. And the public would stand out and shout, give us evidence. How many schools built, how many taps installed, how many parks done, which are the medicines that are coming in the health centers. Give us evidence, show us. Therefore, evidence-based policy became a big thing in the RTI movement, which originated in Rajasthan through a social movement in India. This is what is very, very important even today. If the government is to win public trust, which is social capital for the government, that people trust your data. People must trust your data. If they don't, then government data will be completely mistrusted. And therefore, the need for alternative data. And alternative data can come from private sector, NGO sector, think tank sector, basic research in social sciences. Any enterprise of this sort needs to generate enough information as knowledge in the public domain. And that is why data science has come to be acknowledged as a big game changer also. Even if you look at India's entire COVID management, it was done through data analysis, predictive data, data modeling. It was done to predict what would happen in second wave, what would happen in third wave, based on the mistakes we made in the second wave, third wave, steps were taken. Based on data management, data analysis, data predictions, data modeling. We have used it right away in India during COVID-19 management, so that we don't fail our people when it comes to public policies, whether it's a public health emergency like COVID-19 management, could be disaster relief, could be anything where we need data to take preemptive steps, improve our public policies, review them through data, have predictive modeling of data science, wherein they give case 1 scenario, case 2 scenario, case 3 scenario. There are 3 ways in which you can manage the third wave in COVID-19. The government chose one. These are the steps we will take based on predictive modeling of data. These 3 options are there before us as per the data analysts of what steps should we take to manage the third wave. Government did it. So data science has entered Indian public policy planning and management. This is globally being considered as another game changer like e-governance. That data science, it's not theory. Data analytics has a theory. It has different techniques wherein we look at different policies, review them, through our different models of cost benefit analysis and so on. So statistics is extremely important in data science. Statistics leads to evidence-based policy making. Statistical inferences are important. If you catch the statistics properly, how to interpret it properly, then make policies wherein you go by certain predictions made by data science. So data science is serious business globally. Every policy maker needs that kind of inputs. Before policies are made, you have to know sufficiently about that domain. Domain knowledge is very important before you make telecom policy, health policy, education policy, environment policy, social welfare policies. In that domain, knowledge gathering is very important. And from where you will get it? From data science. Data science will tell you how earlier policies have worked, what have been the outcomes, whether certain policies have been cost effective or not. So it is called science because obviously statistics is used, different mathematical models are used. So therefore we call it data science. But does it mean, and I'm warning you here, does it mean public policy making, implementation, review in that whole policy cycle process is all about science? It is not. Data science is only a tool to help you make better policies and evidence-based policies. So there is unit 3 here, which I can see is all about hypothesis testing, descriptive analytics, how you visualize data, all of this inferential analytics and policy research. These are statistical tools in data science. That comes in unit 3. And then in the last unit, 4 case studies, at least 4 case studies from Indian public policies currently in operation, how you can analyze them through data science, or how they can be improved if we have better data sets. That will be analyzed to show how data science can analyze existing policies, interpret existing policies, but also can be used to improve, modify, and change. If you can give us various options of change and alternative policies based on data, that model 1 can be used in future based on this data set. Model 2, another option we are giving you to change or modify this policy through data set 2. Then through data set 3, we are giving you another predictive kind of model whereby you can reform, change, modify this particular policy. So every policymaker today will use data science, tools and techniques whereby they give you certain predictive models and alternatives to change, reform, modify policy. So data analytics for public policy research of existing policies and also to give you better options are all there in this paper. So data analytics is useful for all social science research. I'm not saying only public policy research. Data science is being used by all researchers today in science, in social sciences, in natural sciences, in social sciences. So data science is big, and big data is very, very important. But it has to be the most important thing is data is a tool. It should not be used secretively by government alone. Data should be out in the public domain also, so that people understand that it is not manipulated. So a democratization of data analytics is required to put data in public domain for public knowledge and to make informed public opinion. So this is something, it's not as though governments did not have data earlier. Governments did not know anything about data science. Planning Commission had data analytics earlier done. In our earlier planning days also, data analytics was very much there. But did the public get to know anything? Governments know the reason for their failures. Governments knew why they have, why certain public policies failed. They knew the story, but they wouldn't put it out in the public domain for you. But today, everything related to public policy, whether it's data analytics or other things, the idea, the current trend is to democratize knowledge and information. Democratize it so that public gets to know. There should not be anything like, as you know, what RTI did. RTI made a big dent on Official Secrets Act, which was a British act. Official secrets, confidential information. Bureaucrats are not supposed to let it out. What happens in office, how they take decisions, what happens in those decisions, what are the outcomes of those decisions, if they have failed, why they have failed. You can never ask anybody anything earlier because of that one act called Official Secrets Act, made by the British, followed by the Indians for years and years and years, because it suited the bureaucracy, it suited the politician, that nothing should come out in public domain. People should never know why policies flunk, flop, fail, the story of corruption, leakages, anything. The Planning Commission knew the story. The government knew the story. But why tell others? After all, no questions asked from bureaucrats or in government offices or to ministers. Ministers, of course, had some kind of public accountability. They could be asked questions in parliament. They were changeable because every 5 years there were elections. So political accountability was there of the political regimes. They could be thrown out. But bureaucrats never had that kind of accountability because they didn't face elections. They never faced the public. They never faced directly parliament questions. So they were hiding behind the Official Secrets Act. Now it's gone. Much of it has gone, not fully. Much of it has gone through RTI. RTI enables a common citizen to ask all kinds of questions. Why this policy is not functioning? Why I am a supposed beneficiary, I'm not getting the benefit? How much money has government spent on this program? Where are the outcomes and outputs? Please tell us. So, a lot of things have happened in public policy and governance, in administration, by way of administrative reforms in the last 20 years. It all started maybe 30 years back with the advent of the new economic policies in 1991. Government, for the first time, thanks to the new economic policies in the 90s, government for the first time faced competition. And I always believe competition is important if it leads to growth and development. Government was a monolith, a monopolizing entity till 1990-91. Government did not compete with anyone. Government never shared information with anyone. Government made the laws and had coercive power over you that if you don't comply, you can go to jail. Government is sovereign. Government has a sovereign coercive power over you as citizens. But is government accountable? Is government telling you the full story of its failures? Is government not hiding behind the Official Secrets Act? Do the public have the right to know? That's how the right to information movement started in Rajasthan. Now the public has the right to know. And the right to know implies many things. Look what has been included in Article 19, right to life. Do you know, thanks to another institution we have to thank is the judiciary in India, the highest Supreme Court judgments. That is one body which has been citizen empowering in its judgments. Look at right to life. How is right to life defined today? Right to life includes freedom of speech, right to health, right to education, right to live in a good environment. All of this is included in right to life, thanks to Supreme Court judgments. These are citizen empowering institutions in India. The Supreme Court, the highest judiciary, through its pronouncements, have seen to it that from 1990s onwards, thanks to government, which I will say has been cut down to size to a great extent after 1990s, today we have governance, wherein there are other stakeholders in public policy making, implementation, and review. There's civil society, there's media, there's the ordinary citizen. There are empowering acts like RTI, empowering judicial pronouncements, which we call judicial activism. They all have made India, they have all enabled India's democracy to deepen, India's democracy to move from procedural to a substantivist notion of democracy. That is the move that we see in India, from procedural notions of democracy to a substantivist notions of democracy. And substantivist means more citizen empowering, more citizen-centric administration and governance, more acts that will make the citizen empowered to question the government, to question public policy. This is the move. Procedural notion gives you gives you the rule of law, gives you rights and entitlements as per the law and the constitution. But to make those rights and the rule of law substantive, you need other things, other complements and supplements. The judicial activism, the social movements, the RTI kind of acts, and even acts, e-governance. That's part of the move to substantivist democracy. Then you have Public Service Guarantee Acts, which again is a move towards the substantivist model of democracy in India. That democracy must ultimately be all about the public and the citizen. And what is it? As I said, the greatest bane, and I'll probably end with this before I take questions from you, the greatest problem. We are doing the right things now. A lot of it are right, no doubt, and citizen empowering. But still, look and watch out for the Niti Aayog reports, which has enabled, us to compare public policies in different states of India, which has enabled competitive politics in India, which has enabled us to move from politics of identity to politics of performance. We must have indicators. These indices have been made by Niti Aayog to compare. The parameters have been given to you to compare. Now you can ask the right questions to your politicians and bureaucrats if necessary. How do you do that? Even to ask the right questions, you need indices, you need parameters. So you must ask the right questions in the public domain. As I said, the COVID period, in a way, shook us and helped us to understand what kind of public policies are required in health, in education, in employment, in for migrant labor, if necessary. One nation, one ration card. Why? Why the right to food, to health, to education should be uniformly enjoyed by all? Why, if you stay in one state, you don't get that platter of public goods and services? Why is it that your governance model in one state of India doesn't show the same outcome as another governance model in another state of India? As a citizen of India, you're entitled to uniformity in your entitlements. Uniformity of entitlement is your moral right as an Indian citizen, equal to another. But equality is only in name. We are not only divided by fixed factors, as I said, like race, caste, religion, community. These are fixed. You can't do anything about it. These are given identities. But we can change certain other things which are in our hands. We can change governance. We can change administrative attitudes. We can change administrative behavior. We can put pressure on governance stakeholders to deliver, to stop corruption, and make your system so foolproof that no leakages happen, no corruption happens at the level of the common man. He gets his quota of rights, services, entitlements equal to another. Whichever sector of work he may be in, whichever district he may be in, whichever state he may be in, he is, as a citizen of India, entitled in the world's largest democracy to the same entitlement, platter of public goods and services and rights as another Indian citizen, which he is not getting today. And these are the issues that have to be brought into the public domain when we do these 4 courses on public policy and governance, which we are offering you from the Center for Public Policy and Governance, housed in the Institute of Social Sciences. You begin your classes from 19th March. Window is still open for others to join in, even at this late stage. But I've introduced you to the courses, to the content, and to the major issues in those courses, which you need to watch out. I've introduced you to the 4 course instructors, and please be regular so that you don't need to catch up, and you may fail to see the linkages if you miss classes. So if you miss, it can be with a valid reason, after informing the course instructor. So wish you all the best, and a happy journey through your 30 lectures. The next 30, I've covered only 2. The orientation has been started by me. I've given you an introductory overview to all the 4 courses. We are open to as many suggestions as you wish to give as participants and students. If there is any arena in which you think we need improvement, whether it is the course design or the teaching pedagogy or the more inputs that you wish to put in, you wish that we should put in any of the units, we are keeping our eyes and ears open to you. You are our first batch, and we welcome you to all these courses with all your suggestions that will come in. We'll take them very seriously. I can't talk of democratic public policy making without being democratic myself. I'm talking so much about democracy and democratic ways of doing things. So I have to be as democratic as anybody, or what I want my government to be when it comes to, I'm just a small head of a small center in an institute in Delhi, but I'm running these 4 courses. So I'm accountable to you, accountable to everyone who's taken these courses. So God bless you. Good luck to you. And I'm open to questions now. Anybody, I have finished the orientation for these 2 days, but please, all of you are present here. Any suggestion right away? Any question? Our instructors, 2 of them are here. Please, I'm ready to listen, because I may not get to meet you that often, though I I may intervene in any class if I wish, just to see how you're doing. I'll do that. I definitely may come into any class anytime and just be a participant listener. But the idea is to see how you're doing, really. So I'll do that. I'll keep doing that, intervening in classes. But my formal orientation is done. So I'm open to questions if you have any, please.
Good morning, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, I want you to suggest any article which you think you are it was the favorite of you, and we should read it.
Uh, well, there are books and articles, yes, but just let me think. Give me a little time to think about this because you said it has to be a favorite article.
Yes.
Definitely give me a day to think because if this is a very crucial article or something which I'm suggesting and I know you will read, this has to be something relevant to your syllabus and course. Just give me a day and I think I'm sure going to get back to you and get back to all your course instructors that this is the article that they should begin to read. And this sort of takes on a lot about all the four courses. So that would require a day for me to get back to you. But believe me, it's a good question and a very sincere request. Thank you for it. But let me choose that key article, which all of you, I'll pass it on to my course instructors and you can begin your readings. Of course, the web resources are ready. The books have been given to you, but my favorite article is a different story. So that I'll get back to you, certainly. Any other suggestion for anything else? Please, you know, uh, a lot of what I've been talking about today is, of course, there, and which includes my favorite points of discourse and what I've been thinking about all these years in the books that I write, in the articles that I publish. And the last three books have come out from Francis and Taylor Rutledge. It's all about governance in South Asia. It's all about what public policy should be, administration should be in the 21st century. It's all about democracy and post-COVID public policy priorities that I've written about in the last three books that have been published by Rutledge. So if you look at the website, if you go to my, where I have been introduced in my website, the books are there. And I wish you could read them at leisure. So everything that I'm talking about very passionately, and I believe in with very passionately with conviction, are all related to public administration in the 21st century, where we are going, the importance of the global south, the importance of India, why India matters, why democratic public policy making is important, and in post-COVID-19 era, what should be our public policy priorities. I've dealt with them in detail in my last three books. So if you ever get a chance to read them, I'd be happy that I've interacted with you at a personal level, because when I write, it's my view, it's my opinion, and my take on that, on these issues. Much of it I managed to say something of it maybe in my two orientation lectures, but I do agree there's much more. But my pet themes are these. It's public policy making in post-COVID era, democratic public policy making, what democratic governance means, and democratic administration means, and why South Asian governance is very important. Where is South Asia moving to? Then sustainable development goal implementation, where India stands. And in everything, I've given a reason why India matters today globally. That's very important, that we deliver democracy, we deliver good governance, we deliver on SDGs. Because in all my works, I've stated this, that India needs to deliver because India is the world's largest democracy. People are watching out. And our model is going to be the sustainable model for the rest of the developing world in the 21st century. So if our democracy has not delivered so far to the extent it should have, we need to sit up, think of our new role in the 21st century as a global leader in so many things, and also a role model for the developing world. We need to deliver on public policies, on our agendas, and do it democratically. We won't do it like China. China has delivered on all SDGs, let me tell you. China has delivered on all SDGs. China is our neighbor. But Chinese model is not what I'm advocating. It's a one-party state. It's an authoritarian state. It delivers through coercive methods. It uses force on its citizens. So the Chinese model delivers, no denying that. China and India were almost at the same level of growth and development 40 years back. 40 years back, China and India were almost at the same level of growth and development. Growth, development, poverty indicators. We were the same 40 years back. But today, after 40 years, China has surged ahead. And India has not. But does it mean we follow Chinese model? Does it mean we run after the Chinese model because it delivers? No, no way. Because China delivered due to coercion, force, one-party state, and authoritarianism. That model I'm not selling at all. I'm advocating the democratic, sustainable model, and India will go slow. I talked of the tortoise and the hare. I said we are the tortoise, China is the hare, but we'll win the race in the end. With that note of optimism, I end my discourse here today, that we go slow. India, the democratic model is slow, procedure-oriented, deliberative, doesn't deliver immediately or instantly. But we are like the tortoise. We believe in incrementalism. We believe in slow change. But the change that comes finally is sustainable. China's model is not sustainable. It will have very serious problems in the 21st century because of that one thing that's missing in China, democracy. We must understand the value of our democracy. We don't give it enough importance in our discourses. But today, whatever we have achieved, it is because of democracy. Maybe whatever we have failed in is also because of democracy. But certainly, democracy gives you the scope to learn, to improve, to modify, to change. We can learn, we can relearn, reinvent, reinvest, revisit everything and improve, modify, change. And democracy gives you the opportunity for progressive, sustainable change. And India must be a role model for the rest of the developing world. We have to deliver. And if democracy can deliver, the world's largest democracy can deliver all its implementation programs, its policies, all that it promises to the people. If we, the world's largest democracy, deliver, then it's said and done. The democracy will be the leitmotif of the 21st century. Believe me, democracy will be the sustainable model for the 21st century. And India matters. That is why India matters. So with these words, I end my lecture. You're welcome. Any of you students, if you want to talk to me personally, directly, come to the institute or send me messages. Everything is there on the website. My mail, my mail ID, I think even my telephone number is given somewhere in the website. I am ready to connect with you anytime. You're very precious to me as the first batch of students for these courses. So I welcome you. I may not be there in every class henceforth, but connecting with me is not an issue at all. Please do. Thank you so much. And we'll close this session if there are no questions.